Hey friends, welcome to another episode of Generation Tech. My name is Ben. Now, normally we only really hear about the heroes of the Star Wars galaxy, but what about the average Joe who's just trying to make ends meet? Some people have to deal with abusive bosses.
Sir, we were unable to acquire the droid.
Work under very poor conditions, or have to deal with dangerous animals in their job. So today we're going to celebrate the contribution of these forgotten heroes. This is the 5 worst jobs in Star Wars. Number 1, twi'leks sex slave. Well, when I say sex slave, I mean in most cases they were more like exotic dancers. Ula's master Jabba the Hutt probably wasn't even a compatible species. How would that work exactly? Well, apparently, according to Star Wars legends, it did. Anyway, twi'leks, especially females, were often traded as slaves because of their beauty, with the ones with the rarest skin hues of blue, or rarer still, red, being the most valuable. Also, there just weren't many job opportunities on Ryloth. If the brutal weather didn't get you, the wildlife would. Many twi'leks themselves were also complicit in this trade. An example of this was the twi'lek male Bib Fortuna tricking Ula into becoming enslaved as a dancer for Jabba the Hutt. The working conditions were so bad at Jabba's palace that Uba considered death her only way out. She had been chained by the neck to Jabba's throne, fed scraps, and forced to dance or perform sex acts on the Hutt crime lord or face severe beatings. She had had enough and refused Jabba's advances one last time. The Hutt got so angry that he opened a trapdoor and let her fall into the Rancor pit, where she was eaten alive. Ula's legend apparently lived on at a cheap hotel in Mos Eisley called Gardula Ula, where someone called Dame Nida put on nightly shows impersonating the ill-fated twi'lek slave. I don't know about you, but I'm imagining someone who looked like this putting on a show at a hotel that looked like this. Anyway, twi'lek sex slaves had it bad. Next, we have moisture farmers. You know those galactic senators are always talking about creating jobs for the people of the galaxy.
I'm going to bring back millions of jobs, protecting our workers.
But those jobs aren't always that great compared to the lavish halls of Coruscant. Take the Lars family, for instance, a salt-of-the-earth, blue-collar bunch who worked as moisture farmers on Tatooine for generations. They were forced to live underground, buy faulty equipment from scrap traders.
The R2 unit has a bad motivator, look!
Hey, what are you trying to push on us?
Drink blue milk in cups their local door-to-door Tupperware salesman kept tricking them into buying. Faced constant attack by sand people. Klieg Lar's wife, Shmi Skywalker, was abducted by them and later died. Then the next generation, Owen and Beru Lars, were killed by Imperial stormtroopers. The only thing they did have going for them was the Tatooine Moisture Farmers Collective that employed hunters to take care of any CGI creatures that might pose a threat. Next, we have Death Star super laser technicians. These guys had it bad. Forced to work in the actual tunnel where that super laser fired from, these guys were hit with all kinds of radiation each time that thing fired. Despite having an extensive healthcare plan that the Emperor liked to call Palpatine care, they still were guaranteed to get sick. The battle stations they worked on during the Imperial period were also 100% guaranteed to be attacked by terrorists and destroyed, giving them a 100% fatality rate. This meant that by the time they'd unionized, they all got destroyed in terrorist attacks anyway, and a fresh batch of unsuspecting technicians had to be re-recruited. Next, maintenance clones. These were defective clones manufactured on Kamino. Since they were no good for fighting due to various defects in their genetic code, they were assigned to be janitors and maintenance workers at the cloning facility. An example of one of these maintenance clones is 99. He was constantly ridiculed.
We should treat them as failures. Besides, I've already requested that they be moved to cleanup and maintenance.
Forced to clean up after the other clones.
Sorry about the mess, 99. It's okay, boys.
And made to carry heavy physical objects despite his hunched back.
Do I ever.
99 maintained a humble heart and knew his fellow clones well. In many ways, his own deformities put things into perspective to other clones like Heavy, who had no idea how good they had it. But when Separatists came to attack Kamino, 99 didn't really have the physical ability to do much besides hand grenades over to more able-bodied clones. In the end, 99's body failed him as he made one final heroic act. And that's a real shame, because clones were basically slaves, bred to fight for the Republic. At least they were all badass and capable of doing awesome things. That is, except for poor old 99. Lastly, we have rebel pilots. Now I know this is controversial because rebel pilots are supposed to be the heroes, right? But not all rebel pilots can do as well as poster boy Luke Skywalker. Just look at poor old Porkins.
Eject! I can hold it. Pull on! No, I'm all right.
Like Porkins, most pilots in the Battle of Yavin died. Out of 22 X-Wings and 8 Y-Wings, so a total of 30 starfighters sent to attack the Death Star, only 3 made it back, 2 X-Wings and 1 Y-Wing. There were similar casualty ratios at the battles of Scarif and Endor too. The rebel ships were old rust buckets that they struggled to carry out maintenance on. Just look at the Y-Wings they had. They had to do maintenance so often they didn't even bother to put the exterior armor back on the ships, even when they were sent out on dangerous missions against numerically superior enemies. They were even forced to carry out suicide attacks. But like all terrorists, I guess they got their 72 twi'lek virgins in heaven. Unlike the Imperial pilots, Rebel fighter pilots also got almost no downtime. There was no time to take a nice vacation on a planet like Scarif. The best thing Rebels could hope for was a fresh jumpsuit and a nap before the next mission. And since the Rebels used snub fighters with hyperdrives, they often had to function without support ships and spend a long time in those cramped tiny cockpits. Well, there we go guys, that's my rundown of some of the worst jobs in Star Wars. I think if I had to pick one, I would be a moisture farmer. There's nothing like the good old outdoors, even though you do face constant threat from sand people. Which one would you pick out of these 5? Or have you thought of some even worse jobs? If we get enough comments, maybe we'll do a part 2 to this series. Okay guys, please like this video. If you're new, please subscribe. And don't forget, if you're watching this, you are Generation Tech.